Welcome to Apex Esports League. I'm JT. Tonight we're live on iRacing for the Pagnian Imports Supercars Championship. Tonight we have round 3 and we're over at Phillip Island Circuit for tonight's round. In tonight's session we have 10 minutes of practice. Weather conditions are mostly cloudy and we've got 10 minutes of qualifying. The race is 40 minutes with cars capped at 40% fuel, meaning they will need to head in for a pit stop to finish the race. It's standing start with the restart being single file with lap cars to the back. We'll check out the standings. After the second round, we have Cameron Veacock leading the championship with 278 points, and as you can see, the entire standings is very close for points for all drivers, very close to each other with being able to make some movement on that board. So how will they go tonight? With last week for round 2 we had Winton Motor Racer. We had Robbie Bradbury qualify second and then take victory, where we saw Cameron Veacock qualify pole and then took the fastest lap bonus points for the race. And we'll load up the track. So over Phillip Island, where track length is 4.41 kilometers, and you can already see a fair few drivers into the session, so it's going to be a very exciting race tonight. So we'll get some audio back into here. You can already see a little bit of chaos going on the track. Those drivers finding track temps probably a little bit cool. Mark Cochran is going off on track. So we missed him for the races. So we've missed seeing his different livery each race. So it looks like he's gone away from the food ones. He's running an ANZ car. And there we have Cameron Veacock, who is our championship leader. We are missing Ryan Carlson tonight, unable to make the session. So we'll be missing out on his hot lap, but we will have another driver to stand in. We'll have a look and see if there's any debuters here tonight as well. And then we'll be having Conor Nixon. That'll take us for a hot lap around, so we'll keep an eye on him once he's back out on track. So he can take us for that lap around lovely Phillip Island. Hey Balaki, thanks for jumping on the stream. If you're joining us for the stream, do jump into the chat, say hello. There are a bunch of sound effects controls underneath that you can play over the stream. So that way you can applaud your favourite drivers. Looks like Connor having some connection issues. It just looked like he was getting a little bit loose. Not sure if that was trying to make a pass. The full throttle car just behind. I can't see the race number to see who that is. Phillip buckling, that looks like Luke Holland. And Conor Nixon heading out for the first cold lap. So we'll cross over to him as he makes his approach onto those last couple of corners. Robbie Bradbury making himself aware of that pit entrance. It's going to come down to the pit stops. Seeing the drivers racing it out down pit lane. Oh, that's very quick there with a runoff. Fair bit of smoke coming down that hill as we crossed over to Luke. now to start a lap here. Hey Connor, are you able to take us around for a hot lap as you start this new lap?
Yeah, mate. So coming up to the first corner, 6th gear, flat out, coming over the crest, good view, love it, probably the best view. Brake a little bit, go down to 5th, use a tiny bit of throttle on exit, then put your foot down, go down to 3rd. Just trail brake it enough into the corner, come out of the corner, bit of throttle, put your boot in it, 4th gear. Gotta go at 5th gear, keep your foot flat around the corner, go on the curve a little bit. First marker you see, go down to the 1st gear, short shift to 2nd, keep the apex, try and not get as much wheel spin as you can, down to 2nd for the other corner, the corner this corner. Now we're going to hit 3rd. Now coming up to Lukey Heights, I'm pretty sure, I don't really know all the names of this track, but into 5th, be brave, keep it at 5th, down to 4th, down to 3rd. I don't know if we'll finish this lap because the session practice is over, but down to 2nd, 1st. Oh yeah, so I didn't get a lap in, but yeah, just basically 2nd gear, then give it the boot, and then yeah, onto your straight, and that's about it.
Yep,
but, yeah.
Thanks very much. And good luck with the qualifying session.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
No worries. There was at least a good 9/10 of the lap anyway. And on board the Ford Mustang with Conor Nixon. Plenty of drivers scrambling out on the track to try and get in as much time as they can for the qualifying session. There's 25 points on the line, with the drivers sitting very close to each other on that podium. Sorry, the podium, on the standings. They need every point that they can get. Drivers doing their outlap. We'll make sure we go through and cover their drivers. So Phillip Buckland, Russell Gander, Stead Miller currently in pit lane. We've got Michael Quain. Lee Colland. And Stephen Banks. Hey Gallen. Hey Mick. It's a great shot there. As Jamie Cross goes flying across. Setting his first timed lap. Set a 1:36. We also have Ian Zug. Gareth Vander Reyden in the Bottle Cup. Matty Parker currently in pits. Mark Cochran also just bringing that car back. So it's only 7.5 minutes remaining. Standings here as more timed laps coming through. Conor Nixon's come through for 1:33. There you go, that Perkins livery does look great. We got Robbie Bradbury, who took the win last week. We have Shane Newlands. I'm pronouncing that right for him. Conor Nixon, who he jumped on board most of that hot lap. We got Blake Urquhart setting a 1:29.6. He did take pole briefly, and it's just been bumped down. Luke Collins come through, setting 1:28.8. And Cameron Veacock setting a 1:29.2, and then bringing the car into the pits. It looked like it may have even been a disconnect just before that car ended up back into pit lane. It was a brief little freeze. I actually thought the session might have froze. He's back in. And the drivers just discussing in the pre-race briefing about which pit lane to use. So there is actually two options to use. So there's a short pit exit and a long pit exit. And the game doesn't actually specify which one to use. And it can be quite dangerous using the short exit, as it's right on the racing line and they're coming down with a huge amount of pace. I think that's what it is. It's a Moffat livery for the ANZ. Caleb missing that corner. Trying to find Cochrane. Yes, it is. There's Moffat, even got it written up on the top there. It does look spectacular. It's great to see a lot of work gets put into some very old school liveries, and even for those that are going through and actually completely recreating the current series look of cars. Matty Parker still in pit lane. He hasn't gotten out on track to set a lap yet. I could see him either start from the back of the grid, and if he is away, that could be a potential pit lane start. Bradbury sets a time and then parks that car up. Looks like we've got 18 drivers loaded into the session. There's 3 minutes 40 remaining. Lucas Burt having technical issues loading into the session by the looks of it. He's now back in. So he's not going to be leaving too much time for him to be able to get timed lap in. Oh, Matty Parker just goes off wide through turn 2. I think it was turn 3. The track temperature is currently 25 degrees. Ambience still at 23. Quickest out there's Lou Collin. 1:28.86. Sorry, 860. He's the only driver to get into the 1:28 margin. His closest driver is Veacock. 1:29.2. Van Roden in with a 29.6. It's a 4 tenths away from Veacock's time. That's at least a good half a second separating pole position to P2. Yeah, it would be interesting to see how many of the iRacing guys jump on Thursday night. We do usually see a few names jump into the chat on the Thursdays. We usually get to see Stephen Banks jump in to cheer you guys on. There's a minute 30 remaining now. Still 4 drivers to get a time set for qualifying. I want to say thanks for hitting that follow button. For all those that are jumping onto the stream and haven't done so, do hit that follow button. Thanks for all the support and growing Apex Esports League and throwing the support to our drivers. And by following, you can be notified when we go live. We're here each Monday for iRacing. There's another 2 rounds to go for the V8 Supercars. There's even more V8 action on Thursday night with Project Cars too. There's only 47 seconds now on the clock. A few cars bringing them back into the pits, so it'll be done for the qualifying session. Peacock may just get enough time to be able to put one more lap in after this. He sets a 129.1. He's improved on his best for the session, but it's not enough to take pole position. Luke's brought the car back into the pits, so that's him done for qualifying. So that pole position can be stolen. Countdown's about to be done. So you may see about 30 to 40 seconds of the qualifying session before it ends up starting the load over into the race. Yeah, Matty Parker got a time in. He's qualified in 9th. He's just gone for a spin. Lucas Burt, Stead Miller and Shane Nguyen's not getting a time on the board. Just enough time for Robbie Bradbury. Crossover. Does he improve? Still holds in the 4th position. So that'll be it for the qualifying now. So we'll bring up those details. So qualifying results, we have Luke Holland taking pole position with a 128.860. And the rest of the grid, we have Cameron Veacock, Stephen Banks, Robbie Bradbury, Caleb van der Reyden, Blake Urquhart, Conor Nixon, Michael Quain, Matty Parker, Ian Zhu, Damien Cross, Mark Cochran, Phillip Buckland, Russell Gander, Nathan Peters, Lucas Burt, and then we have Stead Miller and Shane Nguyen, who didn't get a time on the board, so we'll see them starting from the back of the grid. And then we should have session start to load up. There are a few drivers just waiting to exit out of the session. There we are, let's just end it there. It's a very big close up for race start. See if we can get a nice zoomed out view. Should get a great view for the start of the race here. So a few drivers left to ready up. They've got 1 minute to be able to add in all their settings. If they do forget to hit that grid button, they all see themselves start from pit lane. And a couple in previous rounds missed the jump. go, they've all hit ready now. And we are away, and Luke Holland gets off to a fantastic start. Veacock bogged down just a little bit. That's cost him a fair bit. I think he's dropped down into about 7th position. That was after qualifying P2. There's 3 of the KFC cars lined up behind Luke Holland. That's Banks, Urquhart and Bradbury. Oh no, Bradbury's just been picked off. Conor Nixon moves up into P4. This is always Harry coming down into the hairpin on lap 1. Fethy going too wide. All has been a little bit of a spin down towards the back. That's Phillip Buckland. Not sure if there's been any damage there. Himself and Lucas Burke. Holland already starting to put a bit of a gap. They're about half a second over Banks. And Banks has got some pressure from Urquhart. Down to lap 2. Nixon gets a fantastic run through the final corner. Is it going to be enough to be able to make a move and get around Urquhart through turn 1? It's not. He tucks back in. Veacock's recovered a couple more positions. He's now up into 5th. Did grid at P2. Luke Holland putting more distance over Banks. He's now got it out to 0.7. Looked like Urquhart was probing Banks for an opening at the hairpin. That's got him side by side. Nixon's boxed in behind. Nixon contemplated going for an inside line to get both of them here. Urquhart goes for a move, but he's just spun. I'm not sure if there was any contact there. That's cost him a fair bit. Urquhart's dropped down in the 6th position. He's only just come out just ahead of Bradbury. Nixon now moves up into 3rd. Veacock back into 4th. Nixon runs a little wide. It's cost him a lot. Veacock's now into 3rd position. So he was into 4th, but he was side by side with Urquhart. He's just been moved down. I think Bradbury's going to get him here as well. Oh, and there's been a turnaround. The cars have gone off. Tony Parker and Michael Quain. The two locked in and slid off through the hairpin. Could have potentially had them stuck in front of all the oncoming cars. A safety car this early on would really throw things out for the drivers. It's only 5 minutes in. Would be beneficial for Banks and Veacock to be able to close that gap on Holland again, but it's going to throw a spanner in the works for fuel strategy. So he's got Bradbury closing in very quick. That's Nixon in behind Bradbury. He's looking to move on up. We seem to have lost a little bit of rear traction through the corner. He did seem to drop a tad bit of pace, like he had to back off. Nixon looks to go for an outside move around the hairpin. It could be a little ambitious. It's not going to line him up very nicely for the next left-hander. Van der Breyden up into 9th position. He did seem to have gone off at the same time that we saw Quain and Parker off at the hairpin. May have had a bit of a tap. There seems to be quite a hefty scrape up that right hand side. I think maybe even on the left hand side. No, it is just that right hand. Just ahead of him is Steadmiller. Veacock just got banked. He's now back up into P2. That's where he gritted. Gonna be looking to chase down Luke Holland now. Veacock has done the fastest lap of the race, 1:28.991. So we're seeing qualifying times done this early on in the race. He's got some huge pace. Quain did go in and pit after that incident. Pitting that early on, if he took a splash of fuel at the same time, could potentially be able to last out, especially if there's a safety car, it could come in handy. Luke Holland is our race leader. It's on lap 4. Starting to get right on the tail of, is that Robbie Bradbury's car? Closes right in. How close that car is getting. Looks like Matty Parker's just gone off. He's required a tow. So he's taken quite a hefty hit. I might go back and just see what was going on. A couple of cars up ahead. I'll show you who those other drivers are that he may have. I think it was Shane Newens. And managed to knock the car off, but they did take quite a hefty hit. Like Parker took the biggest brunt of the hit. Looked like he may have exited out after that tow. Banks seems to be holding on to the tail of Vicock. And Ewan's in using that fast repair. There's a close battle here between Conor Nixon, Robbie Bradbury and Blake Urquhart. This is for P4. Urquhart lost some speed. I think that's Newen's car. So he moved aside, he's a lap down currently. Ended up catching Urquhart off guard. Allowed Bradbury to sneak on through. Bradbury now leading the battle out of these three. I think Urquhart's really dropping some pace. Nixon is starting to quickly close down. Our race leader is now leading by 2.6 seconds. Just done lap 8. He's led for the 8 laps. Doesn't seem to be able to give him too much of an opportunity for Vicock to close that gap in. And Parker has retired after that incident. Been frustrating at that high pace. You can't make that wall contact to roll out in front of you. A little touch from Nixon. Oh, they've just turned around. Actually, he might have had that track position. Blake seems to be slowing down to try and redress the turnaround. It's taken a little bit for Nixon to get going. The incident costing a couple of positions for Urquhart as well. Now got Caleb closing in quickly. Banks starting to drop away from Vicock. His last lap about half a second off the pace. What just happened with Vander Radem at Zoo? Just went flying past on approaching the turn 1. And maybe dealing with a little bit of damage. It might have been a tad off the pace on the straight. Cochrane managing to hold off Lucas, but Cochrane's got quite a hefty scrape to that front right. Starting to see a little bit of spacing going on. So 24 minutes left on the clock on lap 10. Holland's still holding about 2.7 second gap. It does teeter. I've seen it extend out to about 3 seconds. So can Luke be able to keep that gap? It'll be interesting as we're approaching the halfway point to the race. We may start to see a few head off into the pits. It's usually not until about 30 minutes in that they start becoming dire for fuel. So for most, we could potentially see them last out another 10 minutes before needing to head in and grab that fuel to finish the race. Stead Miller now up into 5th position. Seems to be carrying a lot of pace coming down on the pit straight. Looks like he's going to quickly close in on Miller now. Especially now, a very wide line taken by Miller. That's going to put Urquhart right on his tail for a pass over these next couple of corners. He runs a little wide though. They squeeze him off. And Miller did run wide. They just get around Newlands. It's currently a lap down. Cochrane's just run off and overshot the hairpin. He's going to have to move offline and let the oncoming traffic through. It's Michael Quain. Nixon heading down into the pits now. It's currently 19 minutes into the race. 21 minutes remain. Banks still trying to hold on to Veacock. He's been sitting around the 1.5 seconds behind him for quite some time. He's got a nice little gap between himself and Bradbury. So about 5.5 second gap. And there's about 12 seconds then again through to Blake Urquhart. Luke Holland heads on into the pits. Sees Veacock take the race lead. Holds a very tight line. Return free. See Banks going off slightly to a wider line. It's gained him about a tenth through that corner. You can see Banks blinking out. He's actually completely vanished. You can't even see him on track. I'm seeing him flash on my standings board for quite a while. Thought it might have been an actual full disconnect. Cross now into the pits as well. Millet makes his way out. Uses that short entry. That's Conor Nixon that's just made the pass as he's come out of the pit exit. He's managed to be able to keep a fair bit of pace up. He's tucked right in behind these two. Nixon squeezed out to the outside. He's could have got a little bit sketchy out there. If he had gone a little bit off, I could have potentially put that car into a spin. Going down into 10th position. Peacock now in the pits, as is Banks. Out of these two, who will be released first? Blake Urquhart takes the race lead. Banks is away. Peacock also back out on track. Spent about 0.3 longer in the pit stall than Banks. He's managed to still get back out and have a decent gap between himself and Banks. Luke Holland very close between himself and Veacock now. And if their pit has gone as to planned, they should have enough fuel to be able to last out, and that gap that he had over Veacock from earlier has now disappeared. It's only 0.8 separating the two now. Ahead of them is Ian Zhu and Blake Urquhart, both needing the pit. You can see Urquhart now bringing the car in. He's not wanting to slow that car up much. He's getting as much pace as he can along that pit entrance. Zhu also coming in. I'll see Luke Holland take back the race lead. It's going to be strongly contested now. Lap car. It's car number 95. I think it was saying. 99, sorry. That was Nathan Peters. They were just having to get around. Veacock's putting some huge pressure onto Holland. Holland hasn't had to deal with much pressure so far in the race. I think Veacock's going to try and get him in the hairpin. If not, he'll get him on the following. He's going to carry enough speed. Bit of tyre slip from Veacock. He's trying to push as much speed out of the car. Holland's had some great pace so far in the race. The biggest opportunity here for Veacock is to try and put that pressure on. Try and force a little bit of an error. Or if he manages to be able to pull away a little bit and sit comfy up to the front again. may be very difficult for Vcock to try and make a pass. Strategy for Holland is just to try and keep him at bay for as much as possible, make him work incredibly hard for it without caving into that pressure. Oh, Vcock's going to go for a move here for sure. Pressure felt by Holland. That's then made him drop down into P3. Banks up into P2. Vcock becomes our race leader. Some fantastic racing around the island. And Holland try and recover some ground, make his way back up the front. Only 7/10 away from Banks. Vcock now having a 2.2 second lead. Looks like Shane Ewan's car up ahead. He's going to have to try and get around to the blue flag shown. Perfect timing to be able to get around. Moving offline on the fast corner. Vcock to get through very quickly, didn't hold him up. Banks and Holland now needing to do the same. They're going to be getting caught up amongst some corners, which is going to make it a little bit more tricky. Michael Quain about a second behind Russell Gander. He's currently holding nicely in P11. All drivers have now been in and pit. This means we should be able to see all the drivers make it home without another stop. Through current standings as at lap 18. So we have in 18th was Manny Parker, who retired after that incident on pit straight. He's only got to lap 5. We have Nathan Peters currently a lap down in position 17. With him is Phillip Buckland in 16th. Shane Ewan's in 15th. Lucas Burt 14th. Mark Cochran 13th. Russell Gander 12th. So that means Quain managed to get around him. Michael Quain now in 11th. Damien Cross in 10th. Ian Zhu 9th. Caleb van der Reyden in P8. Sted Miller P7. Conor Nixon 6th. Blake Urquhart in 5th. Robbie Bradbury P4. Colin, P3. Still holding on behind P2, which is Stephen Banks. Our race lead is Cameron Veacock. He's now pushed that lead out to 2.5 seconds. It looks like he's just lapped Mark Cochran. So Cochran's in P13. Colin taking advantage of the draft behind Stephen Banks. Look at that speed he's carrying. 250 k's before getting on the anchors for turn 1. Oh, he's going to put some big pressure on here. They're going to have to be cautious. Mark Cochran just up ahead. Banks felt the pressure. He ran wide through turn 3. Oh, and a little touch. Looked like Cochran got a little bit off on the side of the track. I saw him start to veer in towards Banks. Like it didn't affect him. Holland in P2. He's nearly 3 seconds away from Veacock. Veacock be able to keep this pace up. He's only got 7.5 minutes remaining. He'll do well for his championship lead to be able to take the win. Jump in the chat and let us know if you think that Veacock's going to be able to take the checkered home tonight. There's still enough time for Holland to be able to rein that in. He's had a great run tonight. That's Michael Quain. That's overshot the hairpin. He's just waiting for a break in traffic to head out. Looks like he just comes out in front of team livery Lucas Burt. Blinking out a little bit at the moment. But he's got no drivers around him, so it's going to be fine. Banks in P3. He's now 1.2 behind Holland. Robbie Bradbury in P4. He's 3.2 away from Stephen Banks. His current pace is about 3/10 slower than Banks. Banks can keep this current pace up. Should be able to at least stay far enough ahead from Bradbury. Lee Collins picking up some pretty big pace as well. That last lap was a 1:30.2. Veacock set a 1:30.392, so getting towards slower end. And He's got some lap traffic to come up. And he's through a bunch of corners, so potentially slowing up a tad. Actually, it's going to be good time. This is coming on approach through the final corner. She's going to be able to get him down pit straight. That was Russell Gander. That was perfect time for him to be able to move across and not lose too much race pace himself. It's not too far behind him is Michael Quain, so he doesn't want to be giving away too much pace by moving on a side. So he's going to have to play it very cautious as our race leaders make their way through. He's got a fair bit before he catches up to Damien Cross. Oh, it's a little bit of slip in the braking zone from Veacock. Not sure if those tyres may be a little bit cooked at this stage. So track temperatures have started to increase a fair bit. It's up to 27 degrees currently, ambient's 24. Hanging from the gearbox of Veacock's car. See behind him at the apex there is Luke Holland, and not too far behind is Stephen Banks. There's 2.5 minutes remaining. So we'll be seeing 2 at most 3 laps. Depending on when they cross that control line as the countdown comes. Banks really needs to close this gap as fast as possible now. If he isn't able to start putting some pressure onto Holland over the course of this lap, he may not have an opportunity to be able to make a move and take position 2. I think Veacock is dropping off on pace quite a fair bit. His last lap at 1:31.2. We saw 1:30.8 and 1:30.6 done by Luke Holland and Stephen Banks. And that gap's gone for about 2.7 seconds down to 2 seconds now. Hey, for Dad, thanks for jumping on the stream. Minute left on the clock now. On the front bumper of Banks' Mustang. He was closing in quickly on Holland. Holland managed to pull away after turn 3. Luke Holland also dropping back a little bit on pace, setting a 1:31. Banks a 1:30.6. Phillip Buckle and Nathan Peters battling out. I think there may have been a little bit of contact between the two. Looks like Nathan Peters front left looking a little damaged. front bar not looking too healthy. It's the last lap now. Vcock's leading by 1.7 seconds. Something's happened to Banks. He's dropped down into 4th position, so Bradbury's managed to move on up. There's a huge gap. Can't seem to see any contact that may have happened. I've lost my mouse to be able to jump over to a different car here. That's helpful. Ford adds it could be the case, maybe low on fuel as well. He could definitely be trying to conserve. And some of these guys had cut it very fine in prior rounds. Look at Vcock, he's losing a lot of pace. I think he's definitely trying to fuel conserve. He's going to try and hold Holland off, but he's crossed the line. Vcock takes the win. Luke Holland in P2. Robert Bradbury takes P3. And then Banks takes 4th. Burkhart and Nixon racing it out to the finish line. It's not enough to be able to get a jump on him. Burkhart takes 5th, Nixon in 6th. Sid Miller, 7th position. Kelly brings the car home in 8th position. Done pretty well. Most drivers, I only got a few drivers that were 2 laps down in the end. It's pretty good for 40 minutes around the island. NZ takes 9th. Damon Cross takes 10th. Gander about to finish up his lap. I'm not sure if he's may have already crossed the control, and he may have actually done so by the looks of it there. So that's all drivers now finished up, so we'll bring up the results. So after 27 laps around Phillip Island, we have Cameron Vcock take the win, followed by Luke Holland in P2, and then Robbie Bradbury in P3, and then the rest of the standings we have is Stephen Banks, Blake Urquhart, Conor Nixon, Stead Miller, Caleb Vander Rayden, Ian Zhu, Damien Cross, Russell Gander, Michael Quain, Lucas Burt, Mark Cochran, Philip Buckland, Shane Newens, Nathan Peters, and Matty Parker. So we'll see if the guys have jumped on over into the chat here. Luke at least jumping in here at this stage. Hopefully we'll see the other guys jump in a moment. G'day Luke, congratulations on the drive.
Hey, how you going? Thank you.
Taking P2, and you led for a good portion of the race as well. It was about even between yourself and Cameron.
Yeah, there's a time where I started to gap him, and then he'd catch up a little bit, then gap him again, then he'd catch up, and I think after the tyres were sort of wearing down a little bit towards the end of my stint, so I went in early and I missed my pit box, so that didn't help, and I overfueled a little bit. Overfueled a little bit, and that didn't help, and when I came out, the gap was a lot smaller. So, but look, Cam drove well, and even in the end, I just I couldn't catch up with him. I think he might have been starting to run out of fuel. I think that's the only reason I closed that gap a little bit. But yeah.
Yeah, it did appear that way. Congratulations on the win, Cam. It was looking like you're doing a bit of fuel conserving towards that back end. That pace started dropping off pretty quick.
Yeah, so Luke and I were obviously having a bit of a chat, and I came into the pits and we tried to tee it up for the amount of fuel that we needed, and I put more fuel in than he did, but somehow I was still short at the end. So I was having to nurse that thing around for probably the last 6 laps, just trying to lift and coast, and yeah, I was having a horrible time. And then the last lap, it started to splutter coming out of the last turn, and I'm watching Luke come behind me, and I'm just like saying, but just take it, dude. I can't. I'm trying to get there.
Yeah, I thought you were almost going to run out pretty close along that pit straight and then see Luke just fly on past, but you managed just to bring it home.
I think I heard it. I think I heard it spluttering.
It wasn't comfortable at all, I can tell you that for sure.
No, it would have been devastating to not have made it across the line right at that point too. So, yeah, congratulations on still being able to get it there. Very close on fuel.
Yeah, definitely. Luke deserved it. He got the start and just drove away. I decided to wheel spin through first, second, and third again this week, and ended up in about 6 after the first lap. So I had to claw back a lot at that point in time, and at one of the points there, I had a bit of a hot spot down into MG with Steve Banks, and the front right just locked, and I got the car turned. The next thing, he's turned in on me, and I'm like, oh no, and I didn't know where he went, but thankfully he was still behind me. Like, we were side by side coming out, and then I think he just got a bit of wheel spin as well.
Yeah, got lucky there. Yeah, it was interesting just seeing the whole field just about take off around you at the start. Your car just disappeared amongst all this traffic, so you had to come back from that and take the win. Well done.
Yeah, definitely. It was terrifying again. Like, same as Oran Park, just watching everyone go around me, and there's nothing I can do. I'm coming off the throttle and then getting back on it, coming off, getting back on it, and it's just, once you get these things spinning, you can't stop them.
No, that's
unless
it.
you get right out of them, and yeah, I'm just watching everyone drive away. I found myself in like 6th position after the first lap, and yeah, it was all over.
Yeah, no, well done on the comeback. Congratulations, Robbie, taking podium. Managing to get Banks on that last lap.
Yeah, Banksy thought it was the last lap, and I think he was looking for some KFC. I think he was a bit keen. He pulled over, and yeah, he was a bit tight on fuel as well. So I was going to give the spot back, but he said, "No, press on." But yeah, it caught me by surprise, that did. But yeah, I think he sort of looked after me there in the end, Banksy. But Cam and Luke did too good tonight. Yeah, it was a very good race. It was very hot early on. Me and Connor had a great battle for the first 6-7 laps, so it was a lot of fun, that.
Yeah, you weren't being too easy on each other. It was great.
Yeah, no, it was great. I could see, same as sort of last week, strengths and weaknesses. So I knew if I could just sort of drive down the middle and just cover it a bit. And he was struggling to get the power down on the over Lukey Heights, so coming out of 10 and 11. And I was just able to maintain, to prevent that slipstream down the straight. So, and then he had a good old ding dong with Blake after that. So I was able to just skip away a little bit from that.
Yeah, managed to pull through, and then congratulations on the podium.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations, guys. Solid drive, and look forward to seeing us all over at Road America next week.
Thanks, boys.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks, Jeds.
And there we have our podium finishes with Cameron Veacock taking the win, followed by Luke Holland in P2 and Robbie Bradbury in P3. So we'll be heading over to Road America next week for round 4, and it is on the Anzac Day public holiday, so we are actually at the moment partnering up with Veteran Gaming Australia, so we are going to be doing a awareness and fundraising drive for Veteran Gaming Australia, so they support veterans currently serving and formerly serving in being able to socialise and get together with others like-minded and all our gamers and those that are involved in the gaming community know just how much it can actually bring socialism back towards each other, well, even though you are very far apart. So some great friendships being able to be formed. So it's a great service to be able to try and get behind, especially being a gaming community ourselves, and then to be able to do something for our veterans, especially on Anzac Day. So we'll be doing that over the course of the stream for round 4 of the iRacing series, and then also on the Thursday night that week as well with Project Cars 2. So if you head over to our Facebook, you'll be able to see some information about Veteran Gaming Australia, or you can check out their website, veterangamingaustralia.com.au, and of course head out to their section of their page with the /donate, and you'll be able to see just what your contributions can actually support with their organisation. So it's going to be great to be able to support them and see what we can raise over the course of the next week and a bit. So do hit that follow button so you will be notified when we go live. So we'll be back again with the V8s on Thursday night with Project Cars 2, and of course that Anzac Day race at Road America will be raising funds for Veteran Gaming Australia. So thanks for tuning in, and hope to see you trackside next time.